I do is I'm tracking mentally, like how strong I am in those lifts. Like a coordination aspect to it too. So it's not just like all brute force or whatever. There's some skill and coordination. In any case, really happy with, I guess, my progression on landmine staggered squats. It's So for today's workout, I started off with an hour on the manual treadmill. Uh, did 1 minute backwards and then 30 seconds forward pushing. Kept doing that till I hit the hour mark. And then after that, I've been warming up on the landmine for a little bit. And at least as of right now, I'm thinking about doing some legs-based stuff using the landmine and the kettlebell. So for the first superset, what I'm doing is staggered landmine squats, and this is just a warm-up set. Getting into staggered position. I'm going to do 5 each side. Good for quads, core, and mobility. Staying on my toes the whole way through. Trying to drive from the big toe. And then with the kettlebell, doing some alternate kettlebell swings, but I'm going to flip it. I want to get good at the flip, so I'm going to start throwing in these as supersets in today's workout. Maybe not for all of them, but for a fair amount, or at least this one, so that I can get used to the throwing of the kettlebell. I don't know, there's something about flipping a kettlebell that seems cool, and I want to get good at it. But yeah, that's what I'm doing next. So it turns out the audio didn't get recorded in between the workout. In any case, I decided to record my top set on the staggered squats. Here I have 345s on. I don't really know how to measure weight on the landmine, but got 5 each side on the landmine with 3 plates. I think that's a personal best. So the thing with stagger squats is it's kind of hard to set it up. Like the heavier you go, you might have noticed that I used like I guess a box to kind of elevate it, but even that that was still pretty hard. But there are taller boxes, and maybe that might be a little better to use next time. In any case, really happy with, I guess, my progression on landmine staggered squats. It's one of the movements, I guess, on which I am kind of, at least subconsciously, actually, no, consciously tracking my progress. So, as I was saying earlier, I wanted to, keep practicing my coordination aspect of kettlebell juggling. And so I was just throwing these in the middle instead of just resting. But yeah, Um, Whenever there is something I guess I want to get good at, I like to superset them with with a bigger movement. So I guess earlier, when I used to lift, I used to always superset every exercise with 5 pull-ups because I wanted to get good at pull-ups. So I'm kind of applying that same concept to kettlebell juggling as well. Here, moving into some landmine hack squats, and so I'm doing them on my toes and kind of arching my back and like I guess it's arching, but I'm not arching forward; it's arching backwards. And I'm trying to really exaggerate uh, the tension that's being built up around the kneecap area. If you're not someone who's comfortable being in such a deep knee bend position, that this movement's probably not for you. But over a period of time, at least personally, I've been getting pretty good at uh, being in the deep knee bend position. And so, like, I'm a huge fan of Tom Platz, and I used to see some of his old school workouts, and I used to think he was crazy. But now that I have this newfound knee mobility, I have, uh, like, started to experiment with some of his concepts. So, like that super exaggerated deep knee bend into hack squat is something that he used to do, but on a hack squat machine. Here, keeping with kettlebells, but I guess it's still flow, but it's more strength based. Like, so this kettlebell I think was around 60 pounds or maybe a little under. And here I'm doing Deadstop clean to presses, 3 each side. Since it's a heavier kettlebell, I guess it would still be classified under full body strength, maybe. But that being said, I'm still like transferring weight from one side to the other, and you know, it's a full body movement and a press. Didn't do kettlebell juggling for that superset, but I did do it for this one. But here, like after doing a bunch of backward and forward on the treadmill and a bunch of, I guess, heavy-ish leg movements, and including the press was, I guess, kind of heavy. I wanted to loosen things up with some cable good mornings. And then, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, uh, threw in some kettlebell juggling in the middle of it to kind of keep that coordination aspect going. But here, instead of doing like a flip, like keeping on flipping with each swing, I'm doing a flip into a shoulder press. This allowed me to, I guess, focus on one flip at a time. Um, Instead of like having to rapidly flip each time, this allowed me to, I guess, focus a little more individually on each flip. And so that was a nice feeling. In the end, I kind of freestyled with the kettlebell and did a bunch more flowy stuff, and the audio comes back there. So yeah. So before I head to the sauna, I'm just gonna do some freestyling with the kettlebells, and I don't know, I'm just gonna try and make up some kettlebell juggling stuff, and then rant about why I'm doing the certain things. So I don't know. Uh, didn't have really a whole lot of structure or plan to today's workout. Um, did a lot of the manual treadmill to start, and that seemed to take quite a bit out of my legs, because actually if you do it on a high resistance, it's pretty much like doing the sled. Anyway, I find kettlebell juggling almost, I don't know, there's something like therapeutic about it. That's a weird word, but because you have to focus on the, I guess, mechanics of the kettlebell, you're so much more into the movement than you usually would be. Then, but when I say freestyle, yeah, I'm not necessarily going for rep ranges. I'm just going to move this in different ways and see how I feel. I feel like moving this way helps loosen up the joints and helps you get out of your body as far as like thinking of weight training as something very rigid. Like when most people think of like a squat or something, like the leg position has to be so rigid, your shoulders have to be so rigid. But here you can just kind of, or once you learn to work out, I guess, with a little bit of kettlebell juggling, I don't know, you start realizing that your body doesn't have to be so rigid and that it's capable of at least moving very freely and able to move weight in different angles and different planes and do things while moving the weight that you otherwise wouldn't do if you were just doing regular weightlifting. But yeah, I've been doing, like, slowly been working my way up into some of these movements, and I don't know, I enjoy them. Like, it gives me the opportunity to do something like make weight training a little bit more creative and dynamic, and as like a coordination aspect to it too. So it's not just like all brute force or whatever. There's some skill and coordination. And you get good at moving force from one muscle group to the other, using the entire body as a unit. Because not only, like, when you think of using your whole body as a unit, it's not just about the muscles, it's about, like, I guess, here I have to keep my eye on the thing, so there's like hand-eye coordination along with weight training. And then there's also a rhythm aspect of it. Yeah, it's actually quite a bit of fun. It's cardio. It feels like you're playing almost. Yeah, I'm gonna head to the sauna now, and let's see if I do posing or whatever. Some post-workout, post-sauna posing, and then I'll just kind of talk about some of the earlier parts of my workout. So at least in the initial part of my workout, where I didn't record it, but I was doing an hour and I was on the manual treadmill for 1 hour, doing a mixture of reverse and forward. Reverse and forward on the treadmill, so the manual treadmill kind of acts as a low resistance sled, and so the sauna was tiring, and so it did that for an hour, and that like really takes a lot out of your legs. At least it does for me. And then I moved into some landmine movements and some kettlebell movements. But then after that, just did some juggling. Like a lot of my workouts, they have a lot of new movements, and I don't know, like traditional lifting philosophy would say, like, oh, well, how do you know, like, you're getting stronger at something? Well, if you notice, there are a couple of exercises that reappear more frequently than others in my workout. So, for example, I do the cable good mornings a lot. I've been recently doing the landmine hack squats a lot. I've been whatchamacallit, doing. Oh, that's not bad. I've been doing staggered squats on the landmine quite a bit, and some other kettlebell movements. And like those movements that reappear often are kind of the movements in which that I'm able to track my progress. So if I'm getting stronger at those, which I am, then I am progressing. So while there are a lot of new movements in my workouts on a day-to-day basis, there are some of them that reappear often, and at least like what I do is I'm tracking mentally like how strong I am in those lifts. How strong I am in those lifts, and yeah, if I'm progressively getting stronger at it, and if my joints are feeling better and all that good stuff, then I don't really have to be super religious about programming things in. I have a general idea of what I'm doing at any given time, so like what my 8 rep max is or how many sets I was able to do of any given weight. And while I don't have a written track of it or anything, I do have a pretty like good memory as far as what's happening from one workout to the other. But yeah, at least that's my philosophy as far as progressive overload and how I'm using it from a load standpoint in my workouts. I also do a lot of stuff that's duration based, so like how long can I stay on a sled for, or how long can I do certain things for. There's multiple ways to progressive overload, but at least from the standpoint of how do I track my strength when there are a lot of different movements, well, just pay attention to the ones that repeat in the videos often. But yeah, that's all for today's video. See you all in the next one.